and we are back on the chosen baseball journey. Today is a magical episode because, Karim Garcia, this is episode number 100. We've hit the 100th episode on this podcast.
Very nice. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. I think Steve Garcia did about 95 of them, and now you're here with us for the 2024 season. So for magical episode number 100, I've picked one of my favorite topics. This one, whenever we discuss it, the internet always goes crazy on us. And it is MLB Expansion. And why I started thinking about expansion is because the second Rob Manfred said, I'm done in 2029, this is my last term, he's been tweaking everything he can possibly imagine in baseball. You know, the game of baseball, when you go to watch from what it looked like in the year 1990, for example, to the year 2024, it's a totally different game with bigger bases and ghost runners and pitch counts and throws to first base. It's unbelievable how many tweaks, and it makes me go crazy. You know, as far as universal DH, these are things, Kareem, I said would never gonna happen, and you can't touch this game, but they're doing it. So if they're gonna do this, I think with the dollars that are being thrown around in the billions, not hundreds of millions, but billions, when you can go get an expansion team for $5 to $10 billion, I think it's time. And I think baseball is going to expand by two finally and make the leagues even count. And you might as well realign everything while you're at it.
I agree, and there's a couple of teams their names are being thrown out there right now. We know that Oakland is relocating to Las Vegas. Everybody is waiting, supposed to. They already agreed for $1 billion stadium, be ready for 2028. They're talking about Nashville. They're talking about Mexico City. They're talking about, different places. Even going back to probably Montreal. I don't know. I would love to see the Expos back again.
This is my test as far as me thinking whether an expansion team is going to happen. My friend, you go, if I hand you a ticket and I'm giving you a one-way ticket to Montreal, let's start with Montreal for fun. I give you a one-way ticket and you're going to go live in downtown Montreal for a full year. And I'm talking fall, winter, the whole shebang. And because I visited there twice in the last few months.
Yeah.
And you've had opportunities to play there. You've seen Montreal for what it is. I don't see it happening. I don't see people wanting to cross the border any more than they have to. I don't think they're going to want the French. And there's a reason why they left in the first place. It doesn't feel to me like it's not like the way you walk down the streets of New York City or you walk down the streets of Miami. And you walk down the streets of Montreal, and I'm Canadian, I cannot see baseball heading back there. It just feels like it's not big enough of a market. They're not going to have a stadium full for 35,000 plus every single night. I have a hard time believing it's going to happen.
Yeah, like you mentioned, it might not happen, but now we're in year 2024. You make a stadium, more for the fans, make some adjustments. It has to be a dome, of course. You got to put a hotel, you got to put amenities on the side so people can actually come to the game, but still walk outside and go to restaurants and other places over there. It's not just the stadium itself. You have to sell the whole idea. And, selling the whole idea, like you mentioned, is not a couple million. We're talking about $1 billion franchise, stadium, and the rest of the thing that comes with it. Parking, everything, and the revenue, plus the taxes that they got to pay, to the government, which it'll be fun.
And this is where it's funny. You look at the dollar and you look at the exchange rate as far as how that works and taxes. You go pay in Montreal, you're going to get paid in US dollars as a player, but the revenue collected is in Canadian dollars. Also, if you're a player and you're getting taxed at the Montreal Canadian rates versus other attractive places like Texas, for example, I think it's very hard to attract free agents when you know that you're going to get taxed at such an amount. Plus, endorsements, very big difference, right? If you're going to be playing for the Rangers, the Yankees, the Red Sox versus, let's say, the Expos, ask Vladimir Guerrero Sr., ask Tim Raines, when they were in their prime, Andre Dawson, it's a lot harder, I think, to get endorsements when you're in a select city like that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but again, everything is changing. The sport of baseball is global. So now that the Nikes, the Adidas, the Reeboks are not just only concentrating in United States. They can sell your picture from Canada all the way to Japan. If you have a Japanese player in Montreal, you know, they're going to sell that to the TVs in Japan. If you have certain players, you can sell them in different places.
Well, if I'm really glad you said that it's a global sport and as far as how baseball is changing. So I've been advocating for this for about now, let's say 12 years at least. Because I've been
Mhm.
talking about expansion for a long, long time. And people told me I was crazy. So now, and of course, I'm crazy for different things, but I think on this subject, I'm actually bang on. So I wanted to bring our expert from the region. So, Karim Garcia, you having experienced enough time in Mexico City, tell us, is Mexico City a sustainable place for a baseball expansion team?
In my knowledge, no. I had tickets to go to see the Yankees against the Diablos Rojos on 24th and 25th of March this year. I will go see him. But and those tickets were sold out in about an hour for both games. But that's only because it's the spring training and those two teams over there. Once you start seeing the baseball games in Mexico City with the team there, which is the Mexico City Red Devils, they have a brand new stadium for 27,000 people. You know how many times they sold out last year?
What?
Yes, opening day. And after that, if you see, they're bringing 8 to 10,000 people. And some of those tickets, and we got to be honest, some of those tickets, they're giving them away so that people can come. So no, no, because on a major league basis, you're spending at least 150 to 200 million dollars in contracts for the year. And let's say you're the Baltimore Orioles, you're the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, you're going to spend $40 million. That's not the type of thing that you want to bring to a new expansion team. From the beginning, the people wants to see names, good players, and spend some money so that people can actually bring it back to the baseball. So I see it really hard to do.
Well, that changes my thoughts a lot because I thought as far as, being an international game and the amount of fans loving baseball in Mexico, watching the WBC Mexico team fans, and the size of the population, I thought it's gonna happen. But I hear your concerns on that. I know, of course, anytime you go out of the stateside, it's you're gonna have passport issues, right? You're gonna have all sorts of headaches that way. Again, taxation, safety. There's so many reasons people have to think about where they're going. So maybe Mexico City, in fact, won't happen. Interesting. I watched a interesting program the other day, and it was talking about the top 10 US cities that are decreasing in population. Decreasing. You
Mhm.
think every single major city is growing like crazy. It's not
Yeah.
happening like that. And one of the places they talked about, it so happened right before we're taping this episode, they're talking about Nashville, Memphis, and talking about
Mhm.
how big their tourist base is, but in fact, not growing in population residents full time being there. And even New Orleans the same way. New Orleans,
Mhm.
you think about they've had the issues with the hurricanes and everything else. They have so many tourists coming there, but the actual growth in population and as far as people living there full time is not occurring. And I'm thinking if I'm Major League Baseball and I'm looking for centering myself into a new expansion city, I don't want to have another Tampa Bay issue. I don't want another Miami issue. I want to make sure I have population, people that can spend money, dollars for stadiums, good location for the stadium, growth around there, and I want to give it the best chance I can to sell out every night, not lose population and lose dollars. So Nashville was one of my votes as well. but now hearing this, I'm thinking it's not so cut and dry. They may not be a contender either.
You mentioned it, not me. This population decrease. It makes really hard to sell the ticket for the people over there, especially for the taxpayers. They're going to have to put up some money for the stadium to be built. I mean, it's going to be a lot of money. So that's difficult. And another thing that I was thinking, and another city besides Nashville, now that you mention it, and they haven't mentioned it too much when it was before, it was Monterrey, Mexico. The first games that they were played, from the Major League side to Mexico, it was in Monterrey when the Expos, no, not the Expos, San Diego Padres and the Colorado Rockies played. That was when Vini Castilla was with Colorado and Fernando Valenzuela was with San Diego. And then they brought Teddy Higuera to pitch over there in Monterrey, which stadiums, again, for a couple of days, are going to be sold out. And I see Monterrey with more baseball fans than Mexico City itself.
So so you're saying if Monterrey, if it's gonna be Mexico, it'll be a place like Monterrey over Mexico City, in fact.
I would think so, yes. I would think that Monterrey would do it before Mexico City.
I think Rob Manfred is actually a very smart man. I mean, you have to be to get to the position he's in. And he's not like Scott, again, not like Scott Boras. He has to get approval. He can't just go and make these changes. He has 30 bosses, right? Comes to his 30
Yep.
bosses, presents the ideas, and majority agree, and things happen. I think that among the smart things he's doing, he's saying, I don't want to expand until I stabilize every other city. I want to know everything is good everywhere before we start mucking around with it. Because in a chance that we need a relocation or we have to fix the stadium situation, let's do that before we expand. So this is where the whole mess with Vegas and Oakland is getting out of control. Oakland looks like they're going to Vegas, but still, it looks like Vegas wants a team. They just don't want to deal with the Oakland owners because it seems like they can't get anything right. Oakland came back and said, oh, you want to renew your lease at the end of this year? Then guess what? We want an expansion team. We want to keep the Athletics name. So there's a lot of that kind of negotiation. Because otherwise, what's going to happen is Oakland's going to have to go play in San Francisco, Sacramento, or in the Las Vegas minor league park. I think things are so toxic right now in how Oakland and the team are getting along. Oakland has to just go anywhere. But the thing is, Oakland has to stay around that geographic area. They have to stay around that area because if they go too far, they're going to lose the revenue sharing. That's why they have to stay, either go play in San Francisco or go in Sacramento, I think. But if Oakland loses their team, I don't think they're going to get an expansion team. I don't see it happening. I know that you think about what happened in football as well, and the way the Raiders left, and generally as far as what's happening in Oakland, as far as crime and population again. I don't hear a lot of players saying, "Oh wow, they definitely need a team in Oakland. I would love to go play in Oakland." I think when Oakland loses their team, I think they're done with sports for a while until the city cleans up.
Yeah, the same thing, with Detroit Tigers and the old stadium. It was downtown. It was a lot of crime over there. They built a new stadium, the Comerica Park at the moment, and they cleaned the whole downtown. They made it so nice. The people actually start coming back to baseball games over there. But like you mentioned, you have to clean first at the surroundings of the teams where they are, or they have to see for the players, because every player probably that goes to Oakland, they probably lives in San Francisco. They commute every day, because I mean, I wouldn't
They're
stay.
not gonna live in Oakland.
Exactly.
But I think that, I've talked about it before, but having visited Vegas and seeing as far as, they hosted the Super Bowl finally, everywhere you walk in Vegas, you see things that memorabilia and gear for the Raiders, for the Golden Knights. I went to a Golden Knights hockey game when they won the Stanley Cup. People said they're not a sports town. They are very much a sports town, and people are loving the sports. Now, that being said, it's one thing when it's a NFL season and you have 16, 17 games. It's another thing when you have hockey, basketball for 80 games. baseball being 162 games, 81 home games, and not an arena of 15 to 19,000. We're talking about 30,000 plus, 30 to 40,000 capacities. I think we're really going to see what kind of sports town Vegas is once baseball is there, because to sell out or sell a lot of tickets for 81 games at 30,000 plus, you got to have it. And I think Vegas is going to be able to pull it off. I definitely see it happening. It just, I can kind of understand if they're going to keep the same owners that don't want to spend on salaries and they want to be at the bottom of payroll all the time, we may get another Miami Marlins situation.
Well, the good thing about Vegas is the big corporations and the casinos are gonna jump in and try to help, that situation. Also, LA being close enough for people to actually drive on the weekends, they will bring people for the weekends, not for the week, for the weekends, to have a little more people over there watching the games, especially when you are in the American League with Oakland, when you have teams like the Yankees, the Boston, Texas. The people is gonna go see him. Houston, they got a lot of fans, a lot of fan base. Those teams, they will drive to see him during the weekends.
It's a good point because between you think about LA, think about Vegas, think about Arizona, they're not all that far from each other. And for big games, it
Yep.
makes sense from a driving perspective. So the last team I want to bring up that I can think of that has been brought up a lot, and again, it's a city that seems to be very, sexy to talk about. But if you actually go to visit the city, I don't know if it feels like a major league city, is Portland. And you think about Portland, they have a basketball team, but are they going to be a city for a major league team? I'm not so sure about it. I'm on the fence on that one.
Me neither. Might never been in Portland to begin with. So, and to bring a major league baseball team to a city that, as a baseball player, and I play in the minor leagues, I play in the major leagues, not even mentioned to be a candidate to be there. I don't see it either.
I think to me, if I'm any of these four major sports, I want to see a city that can house an NFL team, an NBA team, and an NHL team if for baseball. And if there's zero chance of an NFL team ever coming there, or they had a team, lost a team, like Vancouver, for example. Vancouver had the Grizzlies back for the NBA. When Toronto got their expansion team, Vancouver got an expansion team as well. Vancouver lost their team. It's the owners, it's management, whatever you're going to say, but people aren't coming back so quickly. And there's a reason why. And you're never going to see NFL going there. So to me, if there's no NFL coming, they lost an NBA team, baseball's not coming there.
Yeah.
That makes it very easy. And I think this is maybe why, what you and I have talked this through now and understanding it's not so simple to pick a city because even, they're talking now in the NHL that they got an expansion team or relocation back to Winnipeg. So Winnipeg has I don't know, you've never been to Winnipeg, Manitoba, I assume. Neither have I. So I have no interest in going there whatsoever, as far as sitting in the cold and not sure what I'm going to do there exactly. So they had a team, lost a team, got back a team, and they haven't been there that long. And now the talk is, well, attendance is not very good again, and we're never selling out. And if we can't get more tickets, we're going to have to move again. And, you think about some cities that have multiple times had teams, lost teams. How many times do we have to do this with the same city? And I think once you've had a team, lost a team, got back the team, you better keep the team because if you lose it a second time, I don't think you're ever going to get that team back.
Yeah. And in Texas, just like in California, Texas is so big that you can actually bring a major league team to San Antonio or Austin, Texas, and then it can actually work out. Because just like California and Texas is the biggest state of the whole, United States, you can house another major league team in one of those cities.
I like the way you're thinking. And that's one of the things I was thinking about was Texas. The only issues are when you start to have the boundary issues and then you're infringing on the territory rights of another team. And we've seen this now with Baltimore and Washington,
In Washington, yes.
and they're still fighting over TV rights to this day. And it's crazy, when you think about those territories and how it works. But having driven through Texas, I know you live in Texas. I would see a third team in Texas before I would see Mexico City, before Montreal, before Portland. in a heartbeat for sure.
Yeah, they has more people and people that love baseball all the time. They have minor league teams already very successful with San Antonio. Dodgers had a double A team. They sold out like every day almost.
And my final thought on this, if you want to make it very, very easy, let's put an expansion price tag of $10 billion. I don't know how many people can line up with $10 billion. And that may help clear up the mystery very quickly because if somebody is able to come up with 10 billion, then I think maybe they may be able to make it a go. So that's maybe how baseball otherwise is going to weed out all the people that they're not sure about. Because every year they wait for the expansion to happen, it goes up by another billion, by another billion. It's absolutely astronomical. Imagine you and I, we could have bought a baseball team 30 years ago for $90 million. And now there's no teams under a billion.
I know. What about the Yankees in the 80s for $1 million or $2 million when Steinbrenner bought them? And now they're worth like $5, $6 billion.
Yeah, he bought them. Yeah, I think it was in the early 70s,
Yeah.
they had a lot of problems, and he couldn't do it on his own. He brought in a lot of partners. I think it was like 20 something partners,
Oh,
but he told all the partners the deal Steinbrenner made and how Steinbrenner was able to do it. He said, "Look, I make all the decisions. All of you don't get to say anything, but I'm going to make you all a lot of money." So you know what? When
he was right.
someone's prepared to make you a lot of money, you know what? You make the decisions that good. But these days, it's hard to find these one Steve Cohen type person that can be able to do it. To get $10 billion, generally you need a company, a hedge fund. And when you have a big company that's going to make the decisions with board of directors, they're not going to spend whatever it takes to win a championship. They're doing what it takes to make a lot of money.
Yes.
So let's
Dodger
keep that.
wise.
Yeah. When we go to look at baseball in another 10, 20 years, you'll be lucky, I think, if there's 5 teams where there's a single owner. I think it's all going to be hedge funds, all big companies, and they're all going to be looking at the bottom line. So stay tuned on that. This is the Chosen Baseball Journey with Karim Garcia, Jonathan A. Cohen. We'll be back next week, and we got to talk about the Mets. We've been waiting to do this for a couple weeks now, and what the heck are they going to do with Cody Senga? Stay tuned.